I think I've always gravitated towards unknown situations, and then I've really enjoyed having to figure out, like, where do I go from here? You try things that you think you can't do, and then you figure it out. And even if you don't get where you thought you would get, just figuring out part way or figuring out a different route has its own reward. My name is Pallav Kosuri, and I am a biophysicist. I grew up in Sweden. When you grow up in Sweden, you spend a lot of time outdoors. You make your own toys in nature and kind of create your own games. So I think from an early age, I built a lot of things. I learned to carve wood and build things with pine cones and sticks. And I think I went through two phases. When I was little, like very little, like before school, I had way too much energy, and must have been terrible to my parents. I climbed everywhere and I talked to everyone, and I was just like always excited about everything. And then in my teenage years, I became more introverted and I started reading a lot. I have this distinct memory, like on the bookshelf at home, we had an encyclopedia. I would just pick one and just like sit and read it for hours. Looking back, I don't know what was so fun about that, but I found it fascinating at the time. So I was into this like engineering type stuff too. So even in science fiction, it was like, how did they build the spaceships, or like, how could they travel faster than light? Like, how does that even work? The reason why I joined my PhD lab was that I was like looking at different options. I was talking to people, and I set up a meeting with a bunch of different professors. And so one of the professors was the senior professor, Julio Fernandez. And I didn't know much about his research at the time. I knew he was like intersectional, physics versus biology, trying to combine those two fields. Sounded exciting. I spent, I think, 3 or 4 hours in his office, like talking about everything from like science to philosophy to life to, and I remember walking away being like, okay, this is where I'm gonna do my PhD. And that was exactly what happened when I first came to Salk. The entire experience was just, it was just incredible. I remember even like, it's very stressful giving your job talk. You stand in front of all of these famous professors and you talk about your work, and I was kind of prepared to like have to defend myself and be like, oh yeah, no, I did these control experiments, or I'm sure of this because I did all the extra steps, And instead what happened was, they were definitely critical, but they were all sort of trying to build on what I was saying. Everyone that I talked to was like, wow, imagine if you combined your technology with this experimental system that we set up, or imagine doing this experiment but in plants, And I remember coming away from every meeting with someone being like, oh my God, I want to do this thing. Like, it's another experiment, another project. And I just realized that there will never be any shortage of inspiration or projects here at Salk. So in my lab, we're trying to inspire other scientists and engineers to think about DNA as a building material, as a tool to design devices and machines. Nowadays, we can sort of encourage the DNA to fold into different shapes. So not just a double helix, but it could be like Y-shaped junctions or sheets. So those sheets are still double helices, but they're sort of cross-stitched in parallel. So you can make like a carpet, or you can fold those sheets into three-dimensional shapes and make components for nano-sized machines. And we are using that technology to build sensors and devices on the nanoscale. And it's a method called DNA origami. What I see is the potential for a new kind of engineering that allows us to build devices, sensors, diagnostic tests. If you can build things on the molecular scale up, you could make computers that are more efficient. You could potentially make turbines or power generators that are more adaptable, cheaper, easier to scale. And even though I don't know currently what the sort of blockbuster breakthrough will be in terms of applications, this technology definitely has the potential to change the way we do science and interact with the world.